Hello, welcome to our second webinar of this series of webinars that we are hosting at Spark & Co. If you didn't watch the first webinar, I recommend you to get in touch with Spark & Co. so we can send you the links, then you can watch the first webinar we did a couple weeks ago that we covered the aspects of penetration on laser weld. This is a very important subject that I recommend. If you didn't watch it, you can watch it now. You just have to contact Spark & Co., contact us here, and we can send you the information. Today, we're gonna cover another very important aspect on laser weld. That is the maintenance of the LightWELD system of laser weld. So laser weld is a different procedure than MIG or TIG, stick welding. It's a totally different procedure. We have a series of different components that we need to pay attention. So today in this webinar, we will understand the critical role that the optics and how to prevent those optics, right? So we have a series of different optics inside the LightWELD head. I'm gonna show videos and some images to help you understand when we say that an optical element of the LightWELD needs to be clean, what that means. How can I check if my optics, how do I check if my lenses are good? When it's time to change the focal lens, when it's time to change the protective lens, how do I maintain in good condition the quartz block on the tip of my optic fiber. This is all very important aspects that we are going to cover today. So we're going to learn how to prevent problems on the optics, how to maintain it clean, how to keep it clean, the optics, what should we do if you see a spot or something, how can we treat that, how can we avoid cost repairs. All gonna cover this in this webinar today. And most important, there's some tips and tricks, very important tips and tricks that we only learn once you start working with the equipment, and once we have more experience dealing with this type of equipment, we can learn some details that sometimes it's hard to explain over the phone or try to explain on a book, but here showing you different videos, it will be easier for you to understand the problems that you can have with laser weld and why some problems can happen and how to avoid it. So I encourage you also to ask questions. If you have any questions at the end of all this presentation, at the end of the webinar, I'm gonna have the questions that you ask and I can answer those questions if you have any about the subject that we are dealing here today. I would like also to introduce the next webinar. So the next webinar will be in a couple of weeks ahead. It will be about the wire feeder, or how do we choose the wire feeder, which wire or diameter of wire should we use, the implications on laser weld, or even maintain also the wire feeder. So the next webinar will be about it. We can talk a little bit more about it, but now let's jump into our subject from today, that is the LightWELD Preventive Maintenance, or the handheld head and optics. Most of the problems that you could have with laser welding, it's on the head, the LightWELD head. Okay, so the LightWELD handheld head, there's a series of optics inside that we need to pay attention, that we need to maintain in good condition. And how can we do that? We're gonna see on this presentation. To start with, I would like to show you this drawing. Here on this drawing, we have a 2000 XR LightWELD head, but all the LightWELD heads, they look pretty much the same. They are different inside, there's some different optics, they are different, but overall, we're gonna cover the same optics in all of the LightWELD models, okay? So, for example, if you're familiar with the LightWELD, you know that here, let me see if we can, yeah, you can see the mouse where I'm showing. Here inside the collet, you have, inside this assembly here, you have the protective lenses. That this is the lens that is meant to protect the focal lens. So this box here, we have a focal lens inside, and the focal lens comes right here inside the head. So we have the focal lens and the protective lens. Those two must be clean all the time. Why? We're dealing with lasers. So laser is light. Laser stands for light amplification of stimulated emission of radiation. So it's light passing through the lenses. When you have a contamination, when you have a spark or any detail on the lenses, it creates a point of tension. So the light have a hard time passing through it. And you have a point where that small contamination can absorb the light and create heat. Creating this heat is going to burn the lens. So you can burn the lenses, you can break the lens, or just have a tiny spot that it will increase over time. And how do you feel it? How do you see it? We're going to see in the next slide. But the first thing that you realize is the quality of the weld. Now, it depends on the material that you are welding. It's easier to see it, it's easier to feel it, and sometimes it's not so easy. Let's say you're welding aluminum. It's very easy to see if you're having a good weld with aluminum or not, right? But still, like stainless steel, mild steel, it's not so easy because the material accepts well the laser. So sometimes it's hard to tell if you have good optics or not. So that's why I recommend to check twice a day those two lenses again. So you have here the focal lens and you have here the protective lens, the cover window, the window that goes inside the head here to protect the focal lens. I recommend to check twice a day. So before you start working with LightWELD, you need to open the collet and check both lenses if you have contaminations. The next slide is going to show what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, so you can have an idea. So this two is the first two optics that you have access, that you can control, that you can clean if it's possible, if it's necessary, you can clean. I'm going to show you how to do it. But these are the two major optical elements that we need to pay attention. And then we have here the quartz block. So if you're not familiar with that, it's probably because you never tried to remove the head from the fiber. So this yellow cable here, this is the fiber, the optical fiber. At the tip of the optical fiber, we have the quartz block. This is the face of the quartz block. So the face of the quartz block needs to be clean, completely clean. Again, with the pictures will be easier to show, but we don't recommend to remove the fiber from the head unless you need to inspect that. So at least, it depends on how you use your LightWELD, your machine, but I recommend at least once a month you take out the fiber from the head and check and inspect if the quartz block is in good condition. And of course, if you see that the quality of the weld is not as desired, you can check also the quartz block. Or if you feel that your machine is not powerful enough, it's not working how it used to be, so you can check the quartz block. Maybe you can have a problem on the quartz block as well. So I have here some pictures to illustrate that. Here on the left side, so on the left side, on the center, this one on the center and this one on the left, they're both pictures of the same focal lens, right? They're both focal lens, the same focal lens. But I took the picture facing this way here to see if we can see some dust or some contamination here. And it's pretty clean. Like I have some contamination here on the side, but I could clean that. But overall, someone could say, well, the lens looks clean, looks perfect, but when I put back on the welding head and I try to weld, I don't have enough power, or it's not how it used to be. So why is that happen? And we usually say check the focal lens the proper way. So then I tilt the focal lens against the light, and now you can see here some spots, some white spots right in the middle of the focal lens. You have one big here, a small one here, and a lot of different ones, like small ones all around. Maybe it's very, very small in your presentation, but I could see here bigger and I could identify that. So if you take your focal length and twist against the light, you could see, oh, if you have this problem, the tiny spots that you can have. These are burning marks. The laser is burning the coating on your focal length. And the question is how that happens, or why is that happening? I'm burning these lenses over and over. Why am I burning it? What's happening in here? So to explain this, we have, it could be for different reasons why you have that, but mainly it's because of that. Here on the right side, on this picture, I have a protective lens, a protective window cover that goes in the front of the focal lens. So if you see here on this protective lens, I have a tiny spot right here, like two tiny spots, one a little bit bigger and another one smaller right here. So this is a spark. So once someone was welding with this lens, and we have some projections, and the projection got stuck on the lenses. If I continue to use this this protective window, what's going to happen is the laser is going to reflect from that tiny spot back to the focal lens, and that reflection will cause these marks, the small marks that we can see on the lenses. So that means that this here, it's very important to keep it clean all the time. This lens, for example, all we have to do is check. I see something, I do something, I clean it. I'm gonna show you a video how to clean that lens. So if you have the protective lens perfect all the time, you're gonna preserve the focal lens. Okay, so the protective lens, it's a consumable. We need to replace that over time. Even if you check, let's say you weld for 2 days and you check the protective lens and you see it seems to be clean, I recommend you to clean that. Why? Because over time fumes can get stuck on the lenses and you can't really see the fumes, but you are creating a contamination, a kind of invisible for you contamination that will also do the same effect, reflect bounce or reflect back the laser, and will burn over time the focal lens. And if you have just a tiny spot on the focal lens, maybe it's not a problem, but over time, like this one, you're gonna have a lot of different spots, burning spots, and that the laser we're gonna have a hard time focusing, right? So the focal lens needs to focal the lens for a tiny spot so you can weld. So if the quality of the weld it's not as desired or not as it used to be, check the lenses on a proper way, take it out from the head, look against the light, clean it as I'm gonna show you the video, and put it back, that you're gonna see the improvement on the quality of the weld. The next slide here, it's the maintenance kit that we are using on this full presentation or this webinar today. Those are all the tools that I recommend you to have. We have here at Spark the maintenance kit. We can contact us, ask about the maintenance kit that comes with all these parts that we are using to do the maintenance on the heads. So I'm gonna hit the play. So first thing, gloves, proper gloves to not contaminate lenses. This is equipment to blow air inside the lenses to remove dust. It's very important. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about why we use this one. Q-tips, special Q-tips that doesn't leave any residue. The lens tissue to clean quartz block. UV light. So this UV flashlight, it's important because it can help you detect contamination. Brushes, also the steel brush to clean the nozzles, the nozzle inside, the circular brush and the steel brush, I'm going to show you why, and the chemicals, alcohol, acetone, and methanol. Now let me talk a little bit about the chemicals first. So we use alcohol, acetone and methanol. It depends which one you're going to use, depends on the level of contamination you have or where you're cleaning. Alcohol is the most common. You can use, but the problem with alcohol is there's some water in the alcohol and it takes more time to dries out. So when you're cleaning optics, you want it to dry fast. So you don't want to leave the water residue to create that marks from the water, so it can affect laser. So we recommend to use acetone. It dries fast. Sometimes you can use alcohol to clean like nozzles or electrical connections on the head. You can use the alcohol. If not, the acetone that dries fast, so you can clean the lenses easily. And methanol, it dries really fast, so you can use to clean. I'm going to show on the quartz block how to clean with the methanol, because it cleans very fast and is easier, doesn't leave any residue. The first video here, now the second video actually, this is removing the head, how we should remove the head properly. So first thing, we remove the screws from the protection that holds all the cables in place. So we need to remove those screws. We have only 2 screws. It's 2.5 millimeters Allen key. You can easily remove the screws and then take out the plastic that holds all the cables ensemble. The gas hose, the communication cable, the umbilical cable, and the fiber. Okay? Then we need to remove the fiber. Clockwise, remove the quartz block. Once you remove the quartz block, the machine comes with a cap, this black cap. I recommend you to cap it to not contaminate the quartz block. Then you can put aside, remove the gas hose. It's a quick connector, very easy to disconnect. And then the umbilical cable, that is the communication between the LightWELD and the head. That's done, it's all good. We can now proceed to do the next step, that is remove the collet assembly. Now here's is an important step, very important, that I would like to pay attention when we remove the collet assembly from the head. So first we can cap the quartz block connection on the head to not get contamination inside. You can use a tape, something just to cover that. And then the next step will be remove the collet from the head. So as you can see here, this is a brand new LightWELD XR head. I will remove that and I'm gonna show you around the connection of the collet. You see, let me pause here. You see that the connection is pretty clean, right? Around the collet stuck in. Let me show you now an used LightWELD head. This is an used one. I'll take it out. Once I take it out, you see all around how you have all those marks. So the head itself is made out of aluminum. And the collet, it's made out of stainless. You see, when I put that in and I remove, you see some particles flying around. I'm gonna do it again. So I put the collet, once I remove, I couldn't see it now, but sometimes you have those particles that fly around, that's aluminum. So as I said, I recommend you to check the lenses twice a day. What happens sometimes is, once you remove the collet, those particles of aluminum can fly around and can get stuck on the lenses, here on the protective lens, or even inside the head on the focal lens. So those particles of aluminum, it flies, it's very light, and it gets stuck on the lenses. You check the lenses, you close it. Once you hit the trigger and you start welding, that particle of aluminum is gonna burn, and you just burn a brand new lenses. So that's why I'm doing this here. I'll play again. You can use this air blower to remove the particles of aluminum from the head. So let's play that again to see if we can see the aluminum particles when I remove the collet from this head. Look. You see right there on top, a small one was there. Even on the lenses on this one, we could see some particles flying around. So every time you open the head, you remove the collet, at big chances that you have something from the environment or even, like I said here, from the head. So what should you do? Take something like I'm using the air blower for optics and just spray some air, just blow some air, and you're gonna clean the lenses. Because it's very light, it's something normal, it's very, very light. Even dust from the air, it's easy to remove. You can use those can of air can. The problem is that they are very strong, and you have some other parts inside the head, like springs, and you have the mirror inside. So if you use that canned air, sometimes it's too strong, and you can misplace something inside the head. So that's why you can use something more gentle, like that equipment to blow air, just to remove the dust. It's not something that you need a lot of pressure to clean. You don't need that, especially because it's not exposed all the time. It's very easy to just remove some air, with some air. So now I'm gonna show you how to do the nozzle cleaning. First thing is, it's important to clean the copper nozzle because, as you know, you need to keep contact with the part when you're welding all the time to have the interlock connection on the LightWELD. The thing is, over time, fumes is gonna get stuck in the copper nozzle, and this will difficult the contact between the LightWELD and the head. So you're gonna create these fumes on the copper nozzle, and it will be hard to have a contact, or it will difficult to have contact. So I recommend to brush the outside, and also the inside you can clean. So we have this circular brush. You can stuck that in and twist it around. You can remove all the dust, because you're gonna see better on this when I remove the nozzle. Look there inside, I have a lot of sparks, a lot of material there inside that we need to clean, because the problem is once we start welding, that can escape and go inside the lenses. So we want to keep that clean. So it's very easy. You just need to clean that inside, remove. Once I remove, you're gonna see the amount of particles that went out of the extension. So you need to keep that extension clean, because we usually use, if you weld aluminum, let's say, aluminum can get stuck, but it easily come off the walls of the extension, and then coming out of the extension, it can just get stuck on the lenses. So after that, disassembling, cleaning the nozzle, checking the lenses, we need to clean it, right? So we're gonna clean the protective lens and also the focal lens. Once we remove the focal lens, we expose the chamber inside the head. Every time we remove the focal lens, I recommend you to take the air blower and blow some air inside to remove any dust that you may have inside the chamber. Because again, removing the focal lens from the head, it can escape some particles that get stuck on the mirror. So the mirror play a very important role on the LightWELD, right? So you're shooting the laser straight from the quartz block, and the laser needs to change position for you to weld, to go to the nozzle. So the mirror, it has a reflective coating that bounces the laser. So all the optics on the LightWELD is, as you can see, it let the laser pass through, but the mirror reflects. So the mirror is made to reflect. If you have a tiny particle on the mirror, it will absorb the energy and burn the cover, the coating on the mirror, and it's burn the coat of the mirror because it's enclosed, it's a chamber, it's gonna burn the whole thing, and you're gonna explode the whole mirror. So it's very important to keep the mirror super clean. So that's why every time you remove the focal lens, to clean with some air the chamber. So here on the video, this is the tool to remove the focal lens. You just pop it out. It's not too complicated. Check the focal lens if you don't have contaminations or cracks or anything on the lenses or oil marks. Just check on that, and then check also the mirror there inside. So if you don't have any contamination, any dust. If you have something, if you see something, just take the air blower and blow gentle, just a little bit air to take that out, okay? If it is something too crazy, let's say you see a big particle, something too big that you can't remove with just like a gentle air, we recommend to contact us, because this is not something that the user should deal with. The UV light here helps to see contamination like dust. If you have dust, it's gonna glow with the UV light, so it's gonna be easier to clean with the air. Okay? Now we remove the focal lens, it's time to clean it. So let's clean the focal lens. So as you can see there's some dust, but this one particular, I had some marks, oil marks, I believe it was marks of oil, so I need to clean that. What you can do, again, same as the chamber to check the mirror, you can use the UV light. The UV light is good because the dust glows on the UV light, so it helps you see if you have dust or not. This one, as you can see, it's glowing, the parts, the small dots. Those dots are dust that you can easily clean it out. Okay, so I'm going to use the acetone with the Q-tips. So we just put a Q-tip on the acetone, and we can gently brush the two sides of the focal lens. So you can clean one side, and then you turn it around and clean the other side. The thing is, you can see that where it's not evaporating, the acetone is going to leave a mark, a little mark. You need to clean that. Okay, so to clean that, you can take another Q-tip, like a dried one, and you can just brush again, like I'm doing right now. This is a dry Q-tip, and you can just remove the marks from the acetone that didn't evaporate fast enough. Okay, you can clean all around, because sometimes you have some dust that is around the frame, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty clean, it's good enough to put that back. I recommend also all the time after cleaning, just spray, just blow some air to remove any particles that you may have. Now the cover window, to clean the cover window is pretty much the same procedure as the focal lens. So to take it out the cover window, you just pop the window, open it, and take it out the cover window. I recommend also check the O-ring. You see the black O-ring, as you can see. This is to seal the protective window, the cover window, so you need to check for the O-ring as well. If it's cracked or if it's missing, if it's not there, I recommend you to replace it. Again, with the acetone, this cover window had a lot of alcohol, a lot of oil on it, a lot of marks, so I had to clean with acetone as well. So the procedure is pretty much the same. Let me see if I can just jump ahead. So I cleaned first with the acetone, and then I had some marks. And now what I'm doing here is removing the marks with a dried Q-tip. So both sides, Doesn't matter which side you install the protective or the cover window. It doesn't have any side. You just put in any position. It works the same way. The focal lens is different. There's only one position that goes in. It's not too complicated also to reinstall that. After you clean, you can check with the UV light as well. As you can see, we have some contamination. We need to brush that again with the dried Q-tip. All the time using gloves, neutral gloves, to not contaminate the optics. Once it's all clean, we can put it back, and it's good to use again. So sometimes you have some dust. It's an industrial environment. I believe that you're using your LightWELD in an industrial environment. You have dust, people grinding stuff all around. So we need to pay attention. You clean it, check it again. Blow some air, see if you have something. If you have nothing, it's all good. You can put that back and start welding again. So now we're gonna talk about the quartz block. So the quartz block is at the tip of the fiber, and it must be impeccable. It must be perfect. This one is already burnt. So if the quartz block looks like this, burnt, it's not the matter of cleaning. In this case, it needs to be replaced. But sometimes, because again, we need to check over time in industrial environment again, you can get some dust, some contamination. We need to clean that, and we can clean it. If it is burnt, unfortunately, this kind of contamination or burnt mark, we can't really clean. But to do the cleaning, we can do as procedure. First, I'm showing here another one that is burnt. That's also not much that we can do. And why that happened? Same as the focal lens. Could be because of back reflection. You have contamination on the other optics, is reflecting back, is burning the quartz block, or contamination. You remove, it gets contaminated. Once you put it back and shoot the laser, it burns. So to clean the quartz block, we recommend the protector, the casing there, the protect the quartz block. And we're gonna use the lens tissue. So you can take one paper there. It's just like a paper that doesn't scratch is important. You can't have any contaminations or scratches. So depending on the material that you're cleaning, you can scratch the quartz block. I'm using methanol now because it dries really fast. All you have to do is put one drip there and then rub in just one direction, like I'm doing right now, back and forth. You clean the face of the quartz block. So you can pass again on the methanol. You see how fast it dries out, and that's it. It's perfect, super clean, because it dries so fast, doesn't leave any residue from the paper. You can check again with the UV light. You see, when I pass the UV light, there's nothing in there. It's perfect. There's no contamination. Now, once you finish that, I recommend you to cap that again. Take the black cap and cap it, or immediately install the LightWELD head. Of course, we need to put the protection, and that is done. Now, for the next video, we have the checking internal optics. So far we covered all the optics that we have access, right? The focal lens, the protective window, we check the quartz block, but there's other optics inside the head that we don't have access, but you can definitely check if you have contamination or not. And I recommend you to check that as well. Once you open the head to check lenses, to do all this procedure, you can check the internal optics as followed on this video. So you take the head without the collet, and you look through this hole that the quartz block comes in, against the light. You see that yellow lens there? This is another optic that you have inside the head. It must be clean. Same again as the focal length. If you have too much back reflection, it could burn that lenses, or even contaminations. You can have contaminations on the lenses, and if it is the case, if you inspect the LightWELD head and if you see that on the internal optics you have something, I recommend you to contact us to decontaminate, to do something, or to replace the head, because this we don't have access, it's not accessible, this optical. So, but I recommend you to check to preserve the quality of the welding. Now, to reassemble, we can expose again the entrance of the quartz block and always check the connection. You have a red dot on the quartz block and a red dot on the LightWELD head. You just put that in all the way in, and then we twist it. As you can see, I think I'm gonna try to show on the video, you have a little gap, like a 2 millimeters gap right there. Is that normal? Yeah, that is normal. So you can try to stuck that in again, taking that out, force that in all the way, that's it, and then we turn clockwise until you hear the click, and that's it, it's connected to the fiber. Okay, the fiber, it's in its place. It's normal to have that 2 millimeter gap right there. Okay, so that was it for our presentation, or preventive maintenance on the optics of LightWELD. Now we're gonna jump into the Q&A. Let's see if we have questions. So we have one question from Kevin. Does the focal lens removal tool come with the welder, or do we need to purchase that separately? So no, the focal lens tool removal doesn't come with the machine. It needs to be separate. Let's see if I have another question. Question 2. Do the lenses need more? Just a minute, I need to scroll down. Okay. So question 2 is, do the lenses need more frequent cleaning when welding aluminum? We are welding aluminum all day long, Patrick. Again, aluminum, I would say yes and no, Patrick. Why is that? Aluminum, it evaporates a lot when you are welding and create a lot of dust. So we need to clean more the protective window against like the fumes that we are creating when welding aluminum. But on the other hand, if you have a good configuration, if your machine is on point, if you're welding with the focal and precise focal point, if all the optics are good and clean, you should not have projections on aluminum. It should weld super clean. So if you have a lot of projections welding aluminum, that bright yellow light with a lot of projections, that means that something is off. So yes, you're gonna need to clean more and more, or replace even more the optics. So I recommend to clean everything once, try to find a good focal point. With the good focal length, when you have when you're welding aluminum, is sometimes you have that green light on the keyhole. That's the sweet spot. When you have that, you don't have much projections and also less fumes. With all of that, you're gonna preserve the lenses, so you don't need to clean as much or either check as much. So, all right, this was all our questions for the day. So with it, we end here our second session, second webinar. I appreciate if you stayed till this point. Thank you very much for joining us. I recommend you to stay tuned for the next webinar. Will be again about wire feeders, how to choose the wire, how to weld gaps, how large of gap we can weld, what's the difference between using 2 wires, 1 wire, what's the implication for penetration, how much power should I increase if I'm using 1/16 wire, if I'm using double 1/16 wire, how do I measure this all, or everything about filler welding. So thank you very much again, and I wish you a nice day.